Hello, everyone. My name is Maor Farid. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Leo AI, and also the co-founder of the MI community, Mechanical Intelligence Community. And today we are doing our August webinar, and I'm thrilled to have here two very distinguished gentlemen, John McEleney, the co-founder of Onshape, the former CEO of SolidWorks. We're gonna talk a lot about his experiences and his thoughts about AI. Hey, John.
Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending upon where you are.
Good morning, everyone. And also Ashraf Serour, a Leo user with a lot of experience in the mechanical industry and in our profession. And he's going to share how he is using AI and specifically Leo to design much, much faster, right, Ashraf?
Hello and welcome everyone, and thank you. Hope this case study is helpful for everyone today.
Thank you so much, Ashraf. So about the agenda for today. So, we're gonna start with a quick introduction and welcome by myself. Then I will share with you what's new about Leo AI. And by the way, this is the first webinar that we combine the monthly Leo webinar and the MI community webinar. And this is, a living and breathing animal. And we would love to get your feedback because we want to share what's new about our product, but also to give time for mechanical engineers to come together, the global community of AI for mechanical engineers, and to share best practices. We're going to host here people from different organizations that develop different kinds of products in the realm of AI for mechanical engineering, unnecessarily only Leo, right? So this is, we would love to hear from you. What do you want to get in the next times, and what do you think we could do better for you? And then we'll hand it over to Ashraf. This is the Leo story, like every month, and he's going to share how we've done the process of turning an idea into a 3D printed prototype in only 7 hours with Leo. And then, as I mentioned before, we're going to have a section of 30 minutes to feature our distinguished guest, John McEleney. And at the end of the session and this interview and conversation, we're gonna answer your questions. So in the meantime, please feel free to write here on the chat questions that you would love to ask about Leo specifically. Eitan, our product manager, is gonna answer on the chat for you. And also questions that you have for Ashraf and John, and we will answer them during the discussions. Okay? So we'll start with Leo and what's new at Leo. Just to start from the end, today Leo have been serving more than 57,000 mechanical engineers all time from across the globe. The average of time saved with Leo is something like 5 hours per engineer per week. Leo is being used specifically for answer questions based on your organizational data. So you can think about it as an AI integrated into your PLM Windows directory, the first AI to understand CAD and answer questions based on your tribal knowledge and organizational knowledge. And this is the first AI made by and for mechanical engineers. So before I show you exactly what Leo does, this is the problem that we're facing. Let's start from the problem. As you can see here, this is a real screen recording of a mechanical engineer, not building a new product, but just trying to add 2 bolts to an existing Hummer vehicle. And as you can see, only a fraction of the time he's spending in his CAD. All the rest is just him trying to figure out what to do. And this is how our time is being break down. 20% we know what to do, and we do it in the CAD, roughly speaking. But 80% is us trying to find what's the right formula, how to do the calculation, do the spreadsheet and run the calculation there, finding the right part on my PDM, then going online and trying to figure out if the part is on vendors' websites, etc., etc. So in this particular example, it took 1 hour and 52 minutes just to add one part. And it could take much more if it's a more complex part. For example, in my experience, I spent 1.5 days just to find the spring for one of the systems that I was working on. So what the problem really is? The problem is that, it's not, God forbid, it's not Onshape. Onshape is a wonderful product. right? And it's not ANSYS, and it's not the different tools that we're working in or with. It's the fact that in 2025, engineering knowledge, your engineering knowledge is still siloed. It is locked in 4 vaults. In the vault of the brains of the later career engineers in your organization, the ones that are there since day one, only they know what's the best practices on your organization. It's locked in the mountains of documents that you wrote in your organization. And in order to answer questions, you need to go there and try to find the information there. It's locked in the CAD data that you designed, right? A lot of the answers to your questions. So for example, what's the minimal thickness of the hull of the ship that I designed? It's not written anywhere. You need to open the assembly and measure yourself. And it's also locked in the Bibles of engineering, the books, the standards. ChatGPT, unfortunately, is not working well for us engineers. Unfortunately, right? If you try ChatGPT, and correct me if I'm wrong here on the comments, it's something like 46% of error rate. A lot of the time, when we try to ask ChatGPT to provide sources, it provides us sources from Reddit, subreddits, Facebook posts. You cannot build an airplane based on blog posts, right? Or Reddit. It does not understand CAD. So if you have a question which is embedded in a CAD, not text, it's a DOA. It's just impossible to do for ChatGPT. It doesn't understand your context, your best practices, and also it exposes your IP, right? It tells you directly, we're trained on your data. So Leo is basically, we're very proud to say that we're doing the most unsexy use case of AI for mechanical engineers. We're very proud to say that, because we believe that us engineers, we should focus on what we love most and do best, which is building great products. Use our imagination and creativity to solve problems. This is the 20% of cream, but the 80% of the tedious work, trying to find information in documents, etc., we should offload to AI. And this is what Leo does. It's connecting to your PLM, into your CAD editor. It understands all your text and CAD data. And this is the only AI to understand CAD. It provides 96% accuracy. It has your context. It has an enterprise-grade security. And this is one of the news, right? We're SOC 2 certified right now. So we have the top security levels to provide you and your organization. And we're trusted by tens of thousands of engineers worldwide. And this is how we save about 5 hours per week per engineer. So to show you real quick how Leo looks like in action, maybe I'll show you a quick video, right? So imagine that we want, and this is recorded by one of our customers, JJ here. Imagine that you have a drive shaft and motor here on Onshape, and you want to find the key, right? A part. You want to find the best part based on your tribal knowledge from your PLM, right? The best one, according to how you do stuff in your organization. So you just write it to Leo, right? You just take literally a picture if you don't even remember what's the name of the part. And you ask Leo, hey, help me to find a part that looks like this and that is, section area, and this is the length. Then Leo searches through your PLM and organizational data and online vendor catalogs, and it finds the best fit parts, right? So for example, here you could see on the right-hand side, right? It found the relevant parts here on the right-hand side. Different keys. If it's marked in a blue frame, it means that it comes from your data, from your inventory. If it's marked with a gray one, it means that it comes from online vendors. So you can choose. And this is how the integration looks like, right? Behind the scenes. This is the local directory of your data or your PLM. And this is how it looks like. And if we'll go here, for example, you can see how we can ask for specific calculation. For example, calculate if this key meets this and that requirements that I have, this force, this RPM. And Leo was trained to answer your questions in a way that you can feel confident with the answers. I mean, every answer that Leo provides, it also provides a source, either from your best practices and your organizational documents, or based on the Bibles of engineering. Here, for example, when you click on the source, Leo opens up Shigly in the right page, in the right book, and you can see that the formulas fit. So you don't even need to scroll inside the book, right? So this is how the reference from your from external sources looks like, and this is how it looks like from your local sources. You see the green ones are from your local guidelines and sources. So this is, in a nutshell, how Leo can connect to your PLM and allow you to find parts, answer questions in real time, much, much faster, and provide references. So this is what I wanted to share with you. I just want to share with you a few more announcements. First of all, to your request, some of you wanted to explore Leo and get a trial right before you purchase. So we allowed now a free trial for 1 week, both for Leo Pro and Leo Business. Leo Pro is without integration to sources. Leo Business is integration to Windows directory. So you can go ahead to our website. I will share with you links in a few seconds, and feel free to test it out before you purchase and everything. The second thing, we have integration for PDM, SolidWorks PDM, and also there is available integration for SolidWorks. And basically, you can buy our community and developers from our community that just launched integration to both of those systems. So now Leo can communicate with PDM, can communicate with SolidWorks, and we're working on integration to Onshape too. So this is upcoming. And last but not least, as I mentioned before, we are SOC 2 certified. So if you want to integrate Leo to your organization, you can rest assured that your data is 100% protected. So this was a little bit about Leo. If you have questions, feel free to write here below. And specifically, all our more than 100 attendees here, feel free to write about yourself again and questions about Leo. We have Eitan here to answer your questions. So I would love to go to our next part. And I'm personally very excited about this part. And we're going to talk with Ashraf. Ashraf, how are you?
Very well, Farid. Thank you so much. And thank you for everyone who joined us today. Well, I hope the case study is kind of useful for everyone.
I'm sure it will be, Ashraf. And I would love to introduce you real quick for the audience to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
So Ashraf Serour is a design engineering manager at Toothsure with over a decade of experience turning ideas into market-ready machines and products. Certified SolidWorks professional, he had led more than 40 industrial projects, including Egypt's first vending machines and CNC CO2 laser cutting systems. Ashraf specializes in AI-assisted design, digital prototyping, and advanced manufacturing, building smarter, scalable solutions that reshape industries. Ashraf, I'm super excited to see you again, and we would love to hear your experience with Leo, right? So tell us when you were exposed to Leo and what you've done with it, and how you turned the ideas into prototypes super fast.
Sure. All right. So real quick, I have been introducing AI into my workflow before Leo AI using ChatGPT and other tools like Perplexity and Grok AI, all these tools to help in the early stage of the workflow of the new product development. And recently, I came across Leo AI. I tested it out, and I want to show how it helped me take an idea from a concept or just a pain point and the concept and the ideation, eventually up to a final working prototype. So the fact that we have a limited time, so I'm just gonna jump directly into the presentation and show everyone what did we do using Leo AI. So already Dr. Farid has made the introduction, and so I'm not gonna be spending any more time on this slide here. We in Toothsure have been implementing Leo AI and other AI systems in our workflow, yet for IP reasons, I cannot disclose any ideas or any projects we're working on. So I worked on a hobbyist project, a design sprint, a case study that shows how something that usually took me a working week from trying to come up with a nice formulation of the problem up to concept, and then finally prototype with documentation. This kind of took me a week. With the AI, it helped me finish this all within 1 day, less than a day, actually, less than a working day, 7 hours. So to save everybody's time, I'm going to show the highlights of the chat session that I had with the AI and how I implemented that in this project. So this is the workflow that I relied upon. There was a certain pinpoint that I had on a personal project. There's the pinpoint I can show and explain really clearly here in that simulation. This is exactly a certain training for lateral racing for shoulder abduction. And usually people who go to the gym know how much pain and how much annoying it is to perform that training without spraining your wrist or having some kind of pain in your wrist. So we want to isolate that joint, and we want to make sure that all the load is transferred to the shoulder muscle. So how did I do that in this design sprint? So there's the pinpoint, the instability in the wrist joint during the lateral racing and the movement training for the shoulders. I took that into a well-developed and well-defined prompt that I got inserted into Leo AI, describing the problem. And then Leo AI helped me with the ideation, the conceptualization, the basic calculations, and the final project documentation. All that took me an hour within a chat session with the Leo AI. Then I spent 25 minutes almost CAD modeling this part on the amazing platform Onshape, of course. I took it from that stage to simulation on sim scale, just to check everything out and make sure it's safe and I'm not gonna break my hand while I'm trying it out. And then the final stage I took was 3D printing. I have a nice Bamboo Lab 3D printer here, so I decided to take it to the test. So as we said, this is the main training that the solution is supposedly to help in that specific action. So here's the advanced prompt that I inserted into Leo AI to help me with the process. So I like to be very detailed. There's a lot of ways to do this. People can just talk normally to the AI. I believe in the advanced prompting techniques to help identify exactly what you need from AI. So there is a context that we are trying to do, and there's a persona that I'm asking Leo AI to take on, and there's a task, an actual deliverable that I'm asking Leo AI to give me after that. And we go to the next one. So after I added this prompt, the output was an actual, very detailed plan of what exactly are the steps that Leo AI is going to take to provide me with these output. So assume you're someone who likes to do things old school. I believe this is exactly how you would take the thing from a problem or an idea to a final output. This is the problem solving steps that anyone who thinks logically would take. So you gotta always check that. You gotta always see how it goes and check on it and make sure it aligns with your process workflow. The next step would be, there's a summary table that I got of that conversation of the main parameters, the main design parameters of the part that I was trying to create, or that solution that I was trying to create. What is the ergonomic handle diameter? What is the handle length? What is the device weight? Some details about the material that I was trying to use initially before changing it later on. And all these details are well documented. You can always open, press on that tiny little number 2 and open and see verified sources that actually could help you in that way. This thing usually takes you a lot of time to actually get verified information before moving into a next step. So getting verified information is something that Leo AI did help in to make sure that you are not just getting hallucination, like, for example, what we get from ChatGPT, or spend a lot of time Googling details and trying to get to the verified sources. Another thing that I got out of our Leo AI interaction is the project documentation, a very, very important part that you can always copy and put it in your final documentation add some details to it, modify it, present it to your client if you're working on a project with a client, or present it to your management. It explains exactly what is the specifications of the product, what has been done, what is the description, what are the calculations, and all these details. Once you do press on the view project docs, you have a very long and extended project documentation, something that usually took a lot of time to finalize and present in a professional way before using AI in the process. So I took it from there, and with all these details and the idea that I want to do, and I asked Leo AI to create a conceptual design or visual representation of this device, and how, based on how I envisioned it. I was envisioning something that should be supporting on the wrist and can be an accessory to be added to the T-handle, and kind of provide a bigger surface area for the load to be distributed around and to support that. So this is what I got from Leo AI, and this is not exactly what I finalized, but it did act as an inspiration to the solution that I finalized eventually, which is what we're going to see in the next couple of slides. So it did help me to come up with a very simple idea. So here's the conceptual design finalized that I took from the input that I took out of Leo AI. A very basic idea is having something to be on the wrist around here, the same shape like that. And this groove that we have here is the idea that I got inspired by what I saw here. So here is not exactly what I applied. I just got the inspiration of this groove to solve the issue accordingly here, and allow the fabric of the T-handle to good slide inside the extra accessories that I designed, which is a very, very useful thing. So I would say you got to think about this conceptualization module of AI as a mood board and not something to replace you as an engineer. You will eventually need to apply the human in the loop rule. You have to check the output, take whatever is useful from it, and move forward with it. And this is the way it's supposed to be, a tool to accelerate with you and not to replace you. So it helped me come up with this groove idea, which is represented in this CAD modeling on Onshape, as we said. So I came up with this groove that is going to eventually allow the T-handle to have the fabric in this area and allow me to hold this handle and perform this training while having that part supporting on my wrist. So moving forward to the next one, I wanted to perform a simulation. So I was going to print it using ABS, an ABS material. You can always Google or ask ChatGPT to give you some details about the yield strengths or maximum the yield strengths of that material. But I wanted to check if actually Leo AI can help you with that, and it did give me very well documented answers that eventually I decided, okay, I'm going to use the 30 megapascal as a conservative yield strength for my calculation of the simulation here, and also check what is the factor of safety of the design that I made. And there are some other details as well here on the ABS and what kind of printing specs that you need. So I performed that simulation, and it turns out to be safe. The stress concentration makes sense. It does happen around this fillet around here, yet it's safe within the safe limits. And we are talking about more than 3 factor of safety of 3. So if you see here on the next slide, this is how it looks in terms of the loading and deloading simulation. And here is the next step that I took, is actually put it into action, 3D print it. I used my Bamboo Lab Studio to create the review of the slicing. Slicing looks good, everything looks good, and then I finalized it, 3D printed it. It took me around 5 to 6 hours to 3D print that part. And I already got my T-handle that I was talking about. I slid this fabric into this groove, and then I made sure that it actually works fine. So this is all a whole unit that I put on my gym bag and I take it with me. I tested it out several times, works perfectly as planned. And it did grab some attention in the gym as well. So let's see. This is how it looks after all. This is the D hook of the actual D handle that I have, and this is how it looks as a 3D printed part. And this is how it is after printing. And yeah, as I want to finalize eventually that for everyone in the age of AI, the tools, they don't define you. A tool is something that if you use intelligently and you know how to implement it in your workflow, it will augment you, it will not replace you. Don't be afraid to test out different AI tools, different applications. Keep learning, keep having an open mind, and do something great for the humanity. Thank you, everyone.
Ashraf, thank you so much. Can I be frank with you? Just between us, not only the more than 100 people that are with us. For me specifically, it's touching because I told you about my experience as a mechanical engineer in the previous webinars, right? Like I studied 3 degrees in mechanical engineering, then started to work as one. And then, because I wanted to create the next generation of robots and medical devices, I thought that every day I'm going to design and build something cool. But eventually I spent years on this tedious work, and seeing what you've done in few hours, turning your creativity into something real, it's heartwarming for me. So the bottom line, Ashraf, with Leo and without Leo, what do you think is the difference in time?
Very important question. So I would say, and that's basically in a very detailed way, Leo AI helped me finalize and deliver a design sprint which usually takes me a week or something similar to that complexity. I could finalize it in 1 working day. So that is the ratio that I'm talking about. Something that takes 5 working days can be finalized within 1 working day, provided that you know how to use the tool and that you know how to improve, apply the human in the loop rule, which is very important. Other than that, you will waste a lot of time. So yeah.
And you think that the concept that you created is something that necessarily you would be able to do it without Leo, or it enhanced the creativity process as well?
Anything, I believe, from my point of view, anything can be done without AI. Of course, any engineer can come up with such an idea, or even better idea. Yet the idea is about augmenting or accelerating the process, making it easier, making it more. You as an engineer, or you as the person who's working on it, you focus more on the creativity, on the strategy of your NPD process, more than focusing and channeling your energy to find the sources that I was looking for example, or spending your time trying to come up with a visualization concept to show or to your team and discuss it with your team. So usually I would say an augmenting tool, not something to replace or do the job for you.
I really appreciate that. Ashraf, thank you so much for your time.
And thank you, and thank everyone for listening to me today. Hope they find this useful.
The honor is all ours. And guys, I really encourage you to follow Ashraf's path. We're just launching today, and I'm adding here below a few links. We are launching the Build with Leo project. It means that we encourage you, like we know that AI is going to change how people are working, but no one really knows exactly how. You are the only ones to dictate, like Ashraf, right? You define how people are going to use it. So we encourage you to share how you used Leo on LinkedIn via a video or a screenshot, whatever. Just educate us, the engineers. I'm not talking about Leo AI team, other engineers. Show them how you use Leo and tag Leo AI, and every one of you is going to get a gift card of $25 to buy stuff on Amazon. Ashraf, don't worry, you're going to get one too. It's on the way. I see your face. Don't worry, you get two. So yeah, we would
25 euros, please. I live in Europe. I don't live in the US.
Oh, euros, no problem. No, one 25 euros, the other one is in dollars. So guys, please educate us and the other mechanical engineers around the world how you use Leo. Just tag us, and the gift card is going to be on the way. Here, the links are below. And if you want to use Leo or to learn more about Leo for your team, click on the first link. The second link is the second thing is to the build with Leo. The third link is if you want to try Leo yourself, 1 week free trial. The fourth thing is to join the mechanical intelligence pages. Soon, all of those webinars and tools that we share, everything is going to be exclusive only for the team, for the community. So click on the link that you see there and choose what's the best for you, Reddit, Facebook, or LinkedIn, or all of them. And more exclusive content is waiting for you there. So now we're heading to the last and for me, even not less touching than the first one. And I'm happy to welcome John McEleney here. Hey,
Jar,
John.
how are you?
Fantastic. Excited like always.
And Ashraf,
And
that was a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dom. It's a pleasure.
and John, you know why I'm excited. So maybe I'll share with the other audience. I knew that I'm going to become a mechanical engineer after I touched SolidWorks for the first time when I was in 10th grade. And since then, my journey in mechanical engineering started, and it wouldn't be possible without your contribution as the former CEO of SolidWorks. This is the first revolution for us engineers in our lifetime. I think the putting geometric editing tool on every engineer's desktop. The second revolution was putting a geometric engine on every engineer's cloud. So you've done both, right? You were from the builders of SolidWorks and also from the builders of Onshape. And those are I think the most major revolutions that we experience. And today you also advise PTC on strategy, and you sit on the Stratasys board. So it gives you a front row view of how cloud, additive, and now AI technologies are reshaping product development. So, I would love to ask you, for example, the main major thing, or one of the most major thing that I see in Onshape is the fact that now you also have the ITAR compliance, right? So now you're not serving SMBs and even larger organizations, but now on the government level. So what is your take about this? What do you think is the importance of bringing cloud to them?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's really a pleasure to join and share some thoughts and perspectives. If we just sort of hit the pause button for a second and just step back a little bit in time, and I've had a lot of time in this industry, but there's been some sort of profound moments in the industry, and they've usually come when there's platform shifts. Prior to you sort of seeing CAD's been around for a long time. If you go back to Ivan Sutherland's MIT PhD, where he talks about the famous sketchpad, and you can find it on YouTube. It's a wonderful video. We went from purpose-built hardware to mainframe-based hardware to then Unix-based workstations to then Windows, and then a sort of cloud, web, and mobile. And along the way, each one of these platform shifts really provided an opportunity to really rethink the problem that people were having and re-examine the possibility of changing the tools and the processes of how people can solve problems. So early on, the mechanical CAD solutions really were 2D drafting like CADM, and then there certainly was CATIA, which was a 3D wireframe solution early on in the aerospace world. And then we moved to solid modeling. And what did solid modeling help people do? Well, it helped them trying to figure out how things got together and whether things would fit and whether you'd have interferences. And if you sort of trace the evolution, when we went to the Unix workstation platforms, you had high performance computing on a desktop. PTC was really the first company with Pro Engineer to essentially metaphorically add a spreadsheet to modeling. So it allowed you to make changes to the design process, to the design itself. And when do changes happen most? Usually it's at the end as you're integrating a bunch of things. And so that's when the changes are most expensive as well. So PTC had an amazing run with Pro Engineer. The problem at that time was that even though it was an amazing system, and it's still an amazing system, it was too hard to learn, too hard to use, and too expensive. And that really was the raison d'etre for SolidWorks. When SolidWorks, when we went to the Unix workstation platforms, you had high performance computing on a desktop. PTC was really the first company with Pro Engineer. The problem at that time was that even though it was an amazing system, and it's still an amazing system, it was too hard to learn, too hard to use, and too expensive. And that really was the raison d'etre for SolidWorks. When when Windows came along, all of a sudden, instead of a $40,000 workstation, you had a $4,000 workstation. And instead of a direct sales force, you could now sell it through a distribution channel. So we think about the early days of SolidWorks. It was really a lot of people with their noses pressed up against the glass, looking at it and saying, I want that. But because it was too hard to learn, too hard to use, and too expensive at that time, when Windows came about, the new platform allowed us to really rethink the problem. And fast forward, not much had happened in the industry, but as we talked to customers, we heard many of the same problems. And in fact, the problem and kind of frustration levels grew of really how to manage the care and feeding of the system. People were using SolidWorks, but or many of the installed base sort of 3D solid modeling systems. The problem was how do you manage all these files and these linked files? And it became more and more complex. And so people were kind of working around the systems. And so when these devices came out, when mobile phones and quite frankly, Google Docs, it allowed us to basically gain some perspective and say, what can this new platform do? And the new platform really allowed us to rethink the problem. And rethinking the problem was not necessarily about, oh, how do I make a better PDM system to manage files? We realized part of the problem was the atomic unit was a file. And if you rethink that problem, put the CAD system and the data in the cloud, then in fact, it makes it a lot easier to manage the data because you're not having multiple versions of the system, you're not having multiple versions of the data. And the software engineering world, quite frankly, we took a page out of their book, the software engineering world for years has dealt very well with this idea of source control and GitHub and allow people to collaborate and work together. And so we took some cues from there. We talked to the people at Google when we started Onshape to sort of say, what are the visual cues we can add to the system to eliminate sort of confusion and conflict in terms of who's doing what. We introduced concepts that are only possible truly with a native cloud system, which is this idea of branching and exploring multiple scenarios and then merging things back. So each time a new platform has come about, it helps you further refine and solve the problem. So I think of, for example, now, the last major platform shift was native cloud, and we're still well in the throes of that flywheel of taking effect inside of the industry. But AI is a behemoth coming in that's going to affect everything we do. And one can put their head in the sand and sort of say and ignore it, or one can grab a hold of it and sort of say, what can this do for me? And what can it do for my company? What can it do to help solve the problems? And so when I think about AI, it's not necessarily a platform in the sense of like traditionally building a new system to run on AI. I think it's really about how is AI, so rather than think about what's your AI strategy, the question is how is AI going to impact your life and how you go about doing things in your life? And there's only one way to do it. There's only one way to find out, and that's to explore and iterate and try. Just like Ashraf did, what can it help me do in my daily life? So for every engineer that's watching this thing right now, use every tool that's available to you to go and learn and see how it can shorten your product development time. It can, shorten your information cycle. I think what you said earlier, quote, this knowledge is locked in the vaults or / brains of the engineers. Those are my words, kind of quoting what you said earlier. We have these silos of information, and the biggest, scariest silos are the ones that are in people's heads, not necessarily in a vault. And because people leave, things happen, people retire, and so much inherent knowledge is walking out the door. So using these systems to help us to improve our product development process is critical. And there's only one way. There's no class you're going to be able to take. There's no certifications per se that are going to make you an AI certified engineer. Just got to start using these tools, and you got to iterate on it and really explore and learn, because then you're going to be teaching. The good news about your team is that you guys are always trying to learn and you're trying to grab information because you realize that the real power of how people are using your systems is not based in your software development teams, labs, or your customer support center, but actually it's in the user communities outside that are using these things every day. So seeing the use cases and really understanding that kind of at a root level is critical. And so for people who are watching and want to try things, try it. And if your week trial ends, go ahead and extend it for a little longer, buy it for a month, 2 months, whatever it is. Just keep trying to do real projects and real things, because that's the only way you're going to learn.
I really appreciate that. And the things that you've said are really, like, I'm really resonating with them, especially the fact that you said in order to learn the best practices with AI and different tools, you cannot learn it at academia. And I think this is the first time, especially for my generation's mechanical engineers, this is the first time that it really happens, right? Because, we use Onshape and Onsys, we study them at school. And this is the first time that we're on our own. Now we need to explore and exploit the different kind of tools. So what tools, for example, or, before that, what do you think are the best use cases for AI to do first for us mechanical engineers? Because there is a lot of hype around AI and a lot of talk, right? What do you think is the main value?
Well, in my experience, I've seen sort of transformations of different platforms. And inevitably, when people sort of morph from one platform to a new one, people end up trying to implement the new system and they just try to automate how they worked in the past. And because it's natural, right? You want to use the next generation tool because you know that process works, and you sort of just try to basically conform it to your process. And the question becomes, well, what do these new tools offer that changes your process? Now, in the AI world, I don't know yet. I have some ideas, but I can tell you, for example, in the Onshape world, when we introduced the concept of branching and merging, that was not possible before. So if you went and tried to explore, I want to design, this iPhone, you can't see it, I don't know, this iPhone, a smaller one, and I want to look at a bigger one. In any of the systems today, you have to go and copy and make a separate version of, and you're doing two designs along the way. And if there's something unique in the big one that you say, oh, this is a good idea, and you want to put it in the smaller one, then you got to go and try and, redesign it and maybe, kind of restart on that path. And the software world has figured this out. And so with Onshape, and because of the way the platform was built, it allowed you to do branching and merging. That changes fundamentally how you explore designs, also how you work. If you have people that are working in your company, you're based in the US and you have an office in the Netherlands, or in India or wherever, you can have people working on a branch that's the Indian branch that work at night while you guys are sleeping. And the next morning, people come in and they see what they've done and they like things, they can move it over and vice versa. So it really can transform your processes. You can't design that process. You have to morph it to take advantage of those capabilities. And there's really just no way to truly understand that until you try things and iterate. I do think many people are going to try and take things that we use in our consumer life every day, and they're going to try and automate it. Design me a new car, design me a new oven, design me whatever. And that's interesting, but I'm not sure it's necessarily it's just too linear in terms of how the impact of this is going to be really felt. I think the biggest issue, and I still believe this, the biggest issue that most people have in today's design and manufacturing world is that engineers do a lot more than just CAD. And design means a lot more than just what the ultimate geometry and the ultimate, drawings are that are done at the end. They deal with everything from making sure it won't break. So they're dealing with analysis people, they're dealing with the materials people, they're dealing with the purchasing people, they're dealing with logistics people, they're dealing with QA, they're dealing with certifications, whether it might be FDA regulations. So there's a plethora of kind of tasks, depending upon your vertical domain, that you need to be experienced in. And guess what? We live in a dynamic world. We have tariffs, we have COVID, we have supply shortages, we have, you name it, there's shocks to the system on every kind of possible path. If we knew what them, they wouldn't be shocks, right? They usually come as a surprise. Some people refer to them as black swans, whatever they might be. But when there's a change and something has to be changed in the design, usually it's the domain experts that have to sit there and try and, in their own mind, map out, okay, what's the ripple effect of that design change? Like, if it's a new material, okay, I'll use a simple example. There's a refrigerator I can see over here in this room that I'm borrowing to use for this call. Imagine all of a sudden now we can't use Freon anymore. There's a regulation, environmentally regulation, you can't use Freon. They change the refrigerant. Well, if they change the refrigerant, it may be beneficial to the environment, but let's say it's not as conductive in terms of being able to do, transfer heat away. Okay, well, that means I may need to run my motor, my pump, more. And if I run it more and I run it longer and I run it higher cycles, well, maybe that burns out that motor, which means I might need a new motor. So kind of going through that triaging and the possible failure modes and the implications of what that change might be usually rests with the engineer or the knowledgeable people. And we're humans, so we're prone to mistakes. And so it would be great to take this knowledge of sort of a systemic view and allow it to sort of say, hey, look, I got the supply chain. I'm going to change, my 2024 to 6061. What does that mean? And be able to understand kind of the fishbone diagram of kind of implications. So then it allows you as the engineer to go and do it, or have other people to kind of step in and sort of say, okay, if we're going to use something that structurally may cause, us to need something that's stronger, but it may be more brittle, what material might be, then the analysis people might be able to get involved. So understanding the implications to design, I think, are going to be, and to the end use part, it's really going to be a big area that's going to have orders of magnitude impact in terms of the engineering and design and the business of building products. So that's my long-term thesis about what AI can do. And it's not fearful for me at all. I think it's incredibly exciting, actually.
Mm-hmm. And this is exactly what I think comes in our minds. And I told you about the process of that we've done, and we use, let's say, beers very, very heavily, right? We sat with customers and users, and we drank several beers, and we talked about how they envision AI. And all of them went through almost the same psychological process. The first one is, okay, how our profession is going to look like in 5 years. The second is, okay, what should I do now to be prepared and not, lag behind? And the third thing that came after the last beer is, what are the dangers? So am I going to lose my job? So, what's your take about this? First of all, you answered the second one. How to be prepared is to try everything. So the first one, how a profession is going to change mechanical engineers in your vision.
So let me go to the last platform shift. The last platform shift for me, in my world, was sort of cloud web mobile, sort of the SaaS world. And I remember I left SolidWorks in 2007, and I was getting married to a wonderful woman, and she had a fantastic son that I was going to be welcoming into Boston area. And so I took some time off, and I got some perspective as I did that. And by the way, we had a financial crisis, which was a whole perturbation to the world. And I remember going to this very early AWS meeting in Boston, and Werner Vogels was the CTO, and he was there, and it was 50 people in a room. Today there would be 5 or 10,000 people in that room. But I remember coming home, my wife sort of said, "Well, how was the meeting?" I'm like, "I'm not sure I understood everything, but even half of what he's saying is potentially going to happen. It's going to be dramatic in terms of the platform shift, in terms of what this might mean." And so this is where you can't be fearful of losing your job. You can't be, because, okay, you may lose your job. Well, if you're going to potentially lose your job, then what are you going to do to build your skills to understand it? So I just said to my wife, like, for example, I'm just going to jump in, and I'm only going to look at companies that are kind of be focusing on the cloud because I want to figure it out. It turns out we worked on a new company called CloudSwitch, and it was early, and we learned a ton, but we were actually a little early, and Verizon ended up acquiring the company. But you can't be fearful. You just have to embrace it and grab it. Because here's the reality. Just like the cloud wasn't going to go away, shocker, AI is not going to go away. And it will impact people's lives. Every technology platform shift has impacted lives. You cannot stop this. This is movement. Some might say it's progress, but it ultimately is progress. And what ends up happening every single time that there's concerns that there's going to be fewer jobs and automation is going to replace things, we have 4% unemployment right now in the US. Globally, it might be higher in certain areas, but there's no question that technology has created more jobs longer term. And so, do not be afraid. Grab a hold of it. Do not just think you can do it in isolation. Do not think you can learn it by just studying books. You got to go and build stuff. Do what Ashraf did. He had a problem. He didn't want to break his wrists as he's doing shoulder exercises. Go build some stuff. Get your hands dirty. Try it. Do things. And that's the only way that you're going to learn. GPT-5 just came out. I want to see if it can help me build a website. It's supposed to be really great at coding right now. I'm going to go do that. After I finish some of the personal things I'm doing this next week and a half. After that, I'm going to start playing around with that to try and understand what it really can do. Because there's some amazing things it could do, but there's many things it can't do. And there's many things so we need to understand what works and what doesn't work. And the only way you can figure that out is just by doing it. And, I would say this, I remember when the internet sort of was really starting to happen and circa, 1998, 1999, John Hershig and I, the founder of SolidWorks and very good dear friend and business partner and co-founder here at Onshape, and again, great personal friend for 30 plus years. we were sitting at a conference, and I won't mention the CEO's name, but in our industry, she was a very powerful one, very smart, and was talking about, what's your internet strategy? And everybody was sort of saying, what's your internet strategy? And I just remember saying to John, like, it's like completely framed the wrong way. It's not what's your internet strategy. The question is, like, the internet was gonna happen. It was clear. I mean, I remember DARPANet, but like the question was, how's it going to impact your business? How's it going to impact you? How's it going to impact your role? And knowing that that's the question, you can go climb a mountain and eat a yak burger and try and postulate what it might be, or you can actually go and try and figure it out. And we're engineers, and by nature of engineers, you got to constrain the problems. Well, one of the ways to constrain the problem is say, I'm going to try and play with it and figure out what it can do and what it can't do and try and learn. And so the biggest thing I'd say is just get rid of the fear. Jump in. It's not going to swallow you up.
And we were super fortunate at the first days of Leo, to discuss with you and share with you our thoughts and learnings. And we talked with hundreds of mechanical engineers, and literally, if we talked with 900 people, we got 1,000 new ideas of what AI could do for me. Some of them talked about, plastic product design. Some of them talked about documents, etc. And you were one of the first people that shaped the vision, helped us shape the vision at Leo AI. And we talk once in a while. And from our discussions, you shared your feedback, and you said that, correct me if I'm wrong. So you said that what we do at Leo is a little bit different, or and the use cases have a distinction from maybe other more hyped discussions about AI. Could you elaborate about what you think is the best values?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because there's so many things going around. People are trying so many things. What I would say is this, so far, my observation with Leo is that the superpower you have of what you've done in your team is that you've helped basically take, I mean, what's AI really good at is it deals extremely well with a lot of unstructured data and a lot of resources. And so the ability to kind of uncover that for people, I think is extremely valuable. But what's most important, and I think this is important for everybody to take away from this about Leo, but you guys you built a culture where you're putting stuff out there and allowing people to iterate, and you're like hyper aggressive about feedback. Even just look at the chats here. That's great. I think that's actually one of the most, so that's your superpower. And so I don't know if all of what you've built right now is what everybody needs. In fact, I'll go on record saying probably is not. But there's value there, and there's things that people want and will help them. And what you're doing is your weekly interactions. You're just hyper aggressively trying to get in front of customers and watch and learn, and you're trying to iterate, because that's how things get built, is through iteration. And so from that standpoint, I think that's the superpower. When the story is written about Leo's impact in the world and Leo's impact in our community, it's going to be about that, because there are some things that are great in it right now, but there's also so many things that are yet to be discovered that you're going to figure out as you watch people. And so, great products are not built by just a reclusive one person that has a brilliant idea. That may get the reaction started, but all of the feeder chemicals and the interactions are all about iterating and seeing what people are using and doing. And then it's about focus. Once you sort of say, okay, what are the biggest things that can help the community? And focus often is yes, of course, what you're going to do, but it's also about what you're not going to do. And so prioritizing those for the needs of users is really critical as well.
And we are getting closer to the launching of the integration of Leo and Onshape. We're super excited about this. What do you think is going to be the feature that will provide the best value for the Onshape users? Because we've learned from you the obsession on user feedback, and from the early days of Onshape, your stories and John Hirschtick's stories about how you talk to customers. From what you hear from Onshape customers, what do you think is going to be
well, I
the
think
most
it
added
depends.
value?
It depends. Actually, I don't think you can think of it as one monolithic sort of. I don't think it's a monolithic answer, because I think the base is going to be interesting in terms of how they see value. And let me explain. I think the new people that are joining Onshape, yesterday, today, and tomorrow are going to be very different than people that have been using it for a little bit. And the reason I say that is they're going to have a lot more data that they can point it at, sort of say, help us figure things out. So for the newer people, I think it's going to be interesting because I think they're going to probably focus on their transition. For example, we have Onshape Advisor. I think one of the biggest areas that it helps people in is mating conditions. For example, for people that come from SolidWorks, if you're going to do a corner mate in SolidWorks, it might be 3 mates, and how do you put it together and sort of say surface mate, this edge, this edge. And with Onshape, the mates sort of are a little bit more, I'll just be able to handle more sort of complex mating conditions like corner or edge or whatever. And when you sort of see it the first time, it looks like all these symbols, and you're like, oh my God, what did I do to the system? Did I break it? And no, it's just allowing inferencing to kind of how mating conditions work. And that's probably one of the biggest stumbling blocks for a lot of people because they just kind of freak out. They're afraid that they might have broken a model. And I think in the Onshape Advisor world, we've seen that happen. So I think you're going to see a lot of how do I, or how is it different? What does this mean? So people can learn by inference and by examples. I think for the people that are using Onshape in a production environment and as they've grown and larger enterprises, and there's plenty that have done that actually. It's amazing the flywheel for many of the large enterprise accounts. I think they're going to benefit because they're going to start looking at it and sort of saying, I'm going to give them access to all of my bill of materials, and they're going to look for things that are, they're going to be a lot less reduplication. I'll think about it in the way in which storage people would talked about it. In the storage world, people that make the disk drives and store the bits and bytes that are there, they think about data deduping, kind of where's there sort of multiple records of the same data. And I think if we think about enterprises across the globe, the amount of capital that's tied up in inventory because people have redesigned and rebuilt or done whatever many times over, I think is astronomical. And typically when people start to build new designs, there's many components that they may buy, commercial off-the-shelf components that are part of there, where they don't realize that they already have many of those things that have minimum buys, and so they might have 8 buckets of the same thing that have minimum buys of commercial off-the-shelf components that make up that part. So I think you're going to start seeing a lot of, I'll call it in the storage world, data duping. In our world, you're going to see a lot less of the replication of things that, oh, we've already built that somewhere, but I can't find it, therefore I'm going to redesign it. And so I think you're going to see a lot of efficiencies gained there. But I think it depends on the stage of the life cycle, and that's just sort of 2 examples in the Onshape world. But we're very excited because guess what? I could be totally wrong. Let's get it in the hands of people, and I'll learn and see.
Yeah, I think this is the most exciting part of our job, right? Like we launched the alpha version of Leo that was launched, I think, May 2023, was completely different of what we have now. And only, it was only thanks to the feedback of OGs like yourself and the market.
And my guess is in a year or 2 years, it's going to be quite different as well, because you're going to learn and the capabilities of the system are going to start to get better and better and better. So yeah, it's an exciting time. So for all those people that are afraid of it or a little hesitant, jump in, the water's warm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is your message for us mechanical engineers, right?
Be fearless.
This is the time.
Be fearless. It's going to happen. And you can choose to put your head in the sand and ignore it, or you can embrace it and try and figure it out, like all of us are trying to do. And in the end, we're all going to get better products that are going to be cheaper, they're going to be more reliable, they're going to be more sustainable. And just look at the evolution of just product design and parts and manufacturing and how things get built. And it's amazing some of the innovations that we've seen, and it's only going to improve because all these products are getting connected, and there's that's exciting. And so jump in.
Hearing this from you, like from a person that was behind 2 revolutions in our field, it's literally amazing. John, thank you so much for your time and sharing your super exciting insights with us. We really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, and thanks to all your users, and keep pushing us. The industry needs us. The industry needs you to push us.
Will do.
Great.
Thank you so much, John. And thank you so much, Ashraf, for your time. And guys, for the more than 100 mechanical engineers joined us from around the world, thank you for your feedbacks, for your questions, and what you like about Leo, what you hate about Leo. This is exactly what fuels us and makes us serve you better, right? I would love to get more feedbacks about this webinar. It's pretty straightforward. I'm just a mechanical engineer like yourself. I was not going to a fancy business school. I've never took a webinar 101 course. I'm not sure if one exists. So I would love to hear from you what we could do better, what you liked. Other thing, I would love to thank the real people behind every feature that you see, every pixel on Leo, the dream team of Leo AI, the developers, mechanical engineers, product team, social team, the AI researchers, all of them. I wish I could tell you all their names, those amazing people. So they can write their name here. You can go to the website and see those amazing people. Nothing was possible without them. So thank you so much for this. And yeah, exactly. And again, if you'd like to see Leo in action for your team, click on the first link that we just shared. If you want to share with us how you use Leo and to educate all the community, just post a video or picture of how you use Leo and write a post on LinkedIn, tag Leo AI, and an Amazon gift card of $25 is gonna be on its way to your wallet. And if you want to try Leo yourself, there is a code that you could use, right? A promo code that we shared here below, and you're gonna get a significant discount for Leo. So just try it out. And for more exclusive content like this webinar, like our upcoming podcast, like different tools, not only from Leo, please go to our website, MI Community. It's just literally www.mi.community. It's written here, and choose what's the best page for you, best platform, Reddit, Facebook, or LinkedIn. And with that, guys, thank you so much for your time. I'm going to stay here to answer any of your questions and make sure that all of them were answered. But our distinguished gentleman here want to thank you once again, and take care. Looking forward to see you the next time.
Take care.
Thank you, John.
Bye-bye.
See you, Ashraf.
Everyone.
See you, Ashraf. And guys, yeah, hit us. We're here. So let's see. We'll open our Q&A. Yeah. Keep going with the hearts and applause. Yeah, use this feature once again. Thank you. Wonderful. I love this feature. So yeah, Jason is asking estimated availability of integration with Onshape. This is a great. Oh yeah, we just answered this. Eitani, you're super fast, man. Thank you. So I see all the Q&A here is empty, and we answered 24 questions. It means that we covered everything. I will give you another opportunity to write it down if you have a question. Nothing. Great. Guys, thank you so much for your time once again. Looking forward to see you on our next webinar. We're going to share with you the link and everything. The date, I think, is going to be, let me share with you the date real quick. You're going to, of course, get an email organized about the date and how to register. And also, of course, on the MI community, different pages on our LinkedIn, Reddit, and Facebook. Let me get it real quick for you, the date for our next webinar. September, I think so. Yeah, September 9th. It's going to be less than a month from now. It might change. So, of course, all the updates are going to be on our community pages. And also, you're going to get it on email too. So we're going to have a very, very, very distinguished guest there, but it's going to be a secret. You're going to love him. And also, of course, the Leor. And again, any feedback, anything that you would like to share with us, I'm also including here my email, right? So you won't be able even to say that you had an insight, remark, or anything that we were, and you didn't have the way to communicate. So this is my work email, mayor@getleo.ai. We're there for you. And again, once again, thank you so much for your time. Like John McEleney said, just do it. Just use AI, not necessarily only Leo. Do your research, find different tools, see them on MI community. Just try, use, because academia is not fast enough to educate us. So it's our opportunity and it's our responsibility. So with that said, thank you so much, and looking forward to see you in our September webinar. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.